Fittler, Law Director for Sumner County. This is the Election Commission Negotiation Ad-Hoc Committee. We will call it to order. Mr. Mansfield, would you do the invocation?
Yes, dear Lord, we just thank you, Father, for your goodness and your mercy. We just pray for our county that you lead us and guide us in making decisions in the best ability possible and what's best for our constituents. Just pray for all of our county employees, God, that you would give them health and wellness and spiritual and physical and emotional well-being, Lord Jesus, God. And we just lift your name up and we just praise you and thank you for this day. Amen.
Thanks, sir. I'm going to go ahead and move number 5 to number 3 so I can wash my hands of being in this. Election of officers, chairman and vice chair. We'll start with chairman. Do we have any nominations?
I'll nominate David Klein.
Thanks. Any other nominations?
No nominations, so she be elected.
All right. Those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, Mr. Chairman, it's your show.
Okay, so we need a vice chairman, correct?
Yes.
Motion for Bob Brown.
Do we have any other nominations?
No nominations, so she be elected.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, Bob, congratulations. All right. Recognition of the public, or no, approval of the agenda.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. Recognition of the public, we have none. Report of the law director.
Thanks, sir. Basically, what I'm here to do is go over what the ask is from the Election Commission, and basically this is a offer, counter offer, counter offer. It can be a back and forth, it can be a straight up agreement, whatever you all choose to move this to. The correspondence I've had from the other side is that essentially the Election Commission needs 18,000 square feet of contiguous space for operations of its facilities. They've broken that down to 3,000, or to include in that total 3,000 square foot for office space requirements. And there's a whole list of items they reference. I'll be more than glad to go into detail on if you'd like. And we've got a 420 square foot ask for training area for statutorily required training.
How much do you say?
That was 420 square feet. Then they, as part of that 18, they've asked for warehouse storage and permanent shelving requirements. They've said they need 6,000 square feet. There's some statutory provisions that were provided in their request that I don't think apply, so I'm not going to go into those. There was, I'm not familiar with this, but it's a counting board convening requirement. They're saying they need approximately 150 to 300 square feet for that. They identified 275 new voting machines. I am unsure, and I was not provided with the way they want to store those if at a different location. And they're estimating costs to be approximately on their end $120,000 for relocation, and that's pretty much the meat of their ask.
What do you say for office space?
I believe that was 6,000 square feet.
Same storage.
Oh, I'm sorry. Storage was 6,000. Office was 3,000.
Yeah. Okay, so they're saying they need 18,000 and that building is 17,000, isn't it, Mayor? If I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
I think the building is 17,000, so they're saying they're 1,000 square feet short.
Before we get down that road, I need to know if anybody has any questions so we can cease the report and y'all can deliberate.
Okay.
Well, what I've added up so far is only half of the 18,000.
I'm just going off what the ask was. That's how they broke it down. It was 18,000 square feet total, with 3,000 being office space 420 being
Training.
training, 6,000 being warehouse storage and permanent shelving.
Oh, you said, hold on, I missed the training part, you said,
Training was 4,200.
okay, I missed that.
No, 420.
420.
And then 150 to 300 for accounting board.
Accounting board, yes.
Yeah. So Mark is right, that's about half what they're saying they need.
I mean, I know there's gonna be some open space, I just don't know what,
And they're still here.
they're still here. Yes,
There is an office here, yes.
Right.
one at their county, man.
Probably not, well, maybe they are.
I don't know, I don't know.
I've read this letter a couple of times, and I did not see them make a distinction between the current facility and the, was it TRC building?
Mhm.
I do not know.
So we don't know if they're planning on vacating here or anything.
I believe, based on this letter, they want to bring everything into one location.
Okay, so they do want to vacate this here.
Yes.
Okay. Well,
Yeah, we saw the report of law record,
Unless there's questions.
one question, can we get a copy of this? Or will it be part of the minutes, or is this?
This is part of a
Legal
compromise and
document?
settlement. I could send it to the members of this committee with the understanding it's strictly confidential.
Okay.
But if you'd like that,
I would like to be able to read it.
do y'all want to vote on whether to distribute it or not?
Well, before we do that, may I ask a question?
Yes, sir.
There's gotta come a point, because we are involved, the commission is involved in a court case.
Mm-hmm.
Where do we cross over if you share this? It's gonna be on an email server, which will then be part of the public record.
That's true.
So how do we
Yeah,
distinguish?
no, you bring up a valid
I'm not in
point.
favor of it.
You would, the thought would be, I would catch it and redact it, because the FOIA would go through me, but there is that risk.
Well, you know.
And it's in my office. If you're around here, please feel free to come up and look at whatever I've got.
Okay, yeah, I'll come up and read it in full and.
Okay.
No, okay. All right, so that concludes your report?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Well, I don't know how we verify, their needs. I mean, they were in this office with the old machines. Okay.
You got a lot of items on business.
Okay. All right, well, let's go ahead with new business then. Procedure and order rules for the committee.
If I may,
Mm-hmm.
the intent of this pursuant to the court order is for the parties to come to some sort of an agreement, if that can be had, to relocate the election commission. And if an agreement can't be reached, we report that back to the courts, and the judge will determine any further action that the courts have jurisdiction to do. So there is a status hearing coming up the end of this month on this very issue, and our report of taking steps to reach some sort of compromise will probably satisfy this conference. If there's asks you have, it probably needs to go through me. I will reach out to their attorney. Any questions as far as location, how does the shelving work, storage, or can you overlap the purposes of certain square footage, things like that, I can relate to them and see if we can whittle this down to some sort of resolution. That's going to be time-consuming because I've got certain formalities in how I deal with their attorney needs to get with them, they need to come back, get with their attorney, who gets with mine, and then we hammer all this out. The other option is, if we think we're close to something or just completely off base, we can schedule some sort of meeting between the council and the commission, and the council and the election commission, and have some back and forth dialogue that way. that would be treated more as a attempt to compromise or settle pursuant to a pending litigation, so that would be handled differently, and it would have to be a set time, and there's some formalities in that way. So
When you say council, is that an election council?
well, their attorney, and then
Oh, their council. Okay, I'm sorry.
yeah, because they'll have to be in the loop, and it's kind of like a two-way Q&A.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot like mediation, if you've ever been involved in mediation, where the parties attempt to, through some intermediaries, being the two attorneys, to go back and forth and say, hey, if we can do this, we can give that, and that kind of stuff.
Like
but those tend to drag on.
Arbitration?
Yeah, sort of.
Okay. But in no situation can we go there because we're restricted from the building.
The only restriction is, I mean, it's a county building, so the mayor's going to need to have access for maintenance, upkeep, things of that nature. It's just we can't interfere with their operations.
Yeah, I'm just saying the best thing to do is to go over there and see what it looks like.
If you want me to make that ask, I'll be more than glad to do that. Anything that comes out of this, any questions you want me to put out there, any pictures you want me to try and get, whatever you want to do, I will try to facilitate that.
Commissioner Mansfield.
I mean, I guess what Commissioner Klein's going to, we're county commissioners tasked with, being in charge of county property. So we got to, do we have, is there a, I don't know what you call it, restraining order against us from going to that building and checking it out, just as county commissioners? I mean,
I'll double check and get you an answer tomorrow, but I've been through that restraining order several times, and I don't see where it says you can't visit the location.
I don't see how statutorily they can do that.
It's basically the interference with the
I haven't been in
operation.
that building for meetings that they had.
Yeah, I think they do all the
Lawsuits have gone on.
Oh, I thought we were restrained from going there.
I went there.
Okay.
Not that I'm aware of, but I'll double check on that.
Yeah.
One other thing, we get a floor plan of that building and where they are presently, and we can at least look at the actual square footage of those.
Basement and
The basement, the office space, and the TRC.
Do you have?
I know that planning and engineering, they do have a building map of that building, and obviously we have plans of this building. I don't know if it's segregated here on what, but we could figure out where they're at here. Could highlight it. So yes, planning and engineering has that information.
I'll see what Josh has and then try to fill in the gaps from there.
Okay. All right. So rules for the committee.
procedure and order to schedule regular meetings. Item B is what we want to ask.
Okay.
When is the status hearing? That probably will dictate when our next meeting is if we want to tour the facility.
Yeah, I anticipate, he just wants to know what's going on, and I
Basically,
anticipate.
checking in.
Yes.
Yeah.
So if it moves beyond that, I don't think that's gonna be a problem.
Commissioner Mansfield.
I mean, my recommendation is ad-hoc as needed basis. I don't think we need to schedule anything versus we just need to know what works.
September 19th is the hearing.
So we need to meet after that hearing, after it's
I think that's apples and oranges. Y'all's progress doesn't need to be dictated by what I've got to do on that date.
but won't you have new information?
If I have, whatever new information I have, such as us meeting today, that will be provided as part of this. And I believe the judge, whenever I have attended these in the past, he's just wanting to see movement. He doesn't want it staying on his docket with nothing happening. So that's what I anticipate from this meeting.
Okay, so it's just a check-in, right?
Yes.
Okay, so since it's an ad hoc, Commissioner Mansfield has suggested we do it on make meetings on an as-needed basis. I think the critical, at least in my thinking, the critical thing here is if we can get into the building and see what the function is, we can determine whether 18,000 square feet is a legitimate use of the space, or less or more. So I think if we find out if we can get into the building, we can probably schedule the next meeting to tour that facility.
Just for expedience,
Mm-hmm.
let's assume you can.
Mm-hmm.
Are you all wanting to go in as a group, individually? How are you wanting to do that?
I would prefer we went in as a group.
Okay, if y'all could just get together with, just give me a couple of dates, I'll reach out to their attorney and ask them if these are good times, and we'll just set something in stone.
I will not be available on the 13th of September because my daughter's getting married the next day.
Okay.
The commission meeting would be the 16th. Yeah. I think ideally, we want to at least say that we've been in the building prior to, so you can report that to the judge. But
That will
if
be
we
fine.
can't, and of course we have Labor Day coming up too. So.
Right. So we've got meetings on the 10th. The 16th and the 17th is commission on the 16th, planning commission on the 17th. So, when's the judge? Or you have to, the 19th? Okay, I could do the 18th if anybody else is available. I'm available all day, so those who have to work, you got to tell them.
You said the 18th?
The 18th.
I could probably do it right around lunchtime.
Okay.
That would be ideal for me.
Okay.
Just we could do it around 1. I've got to actually have a meeting in the morning.
1 p.m.
Oh, that'd be great for me.
I'm sorry, I'm leaving out of the country on the 18th. My mistake.
So we could,
What about Tuesday? 17th?
Tuesday the 17th, I can make that work. And 1 o'clock is fine with me, if that's a good time.
well, you got planning commission at 5, right?
Yeah, but I don't,
I'd say like at 3:30 or something. So when you're,
no, I think if we can do 1 o'clock on Tuesday.
with that Tuesday.
If you all want to do that, that's fine. I will not be here that day.
The 17th?
Yeah, the
Okay.
16th or the 17th.
16th.
I'll be working remotely and giving UT some money.
For you to have to
Yeah,
chaperone us through.
I do not see anything. As long as y'all don't deliberate while you're there, then there's no problem.
Okay. Well, I can make either the 16th or the 17th. I mean, the planning commission's at 4.
No, I can do the 16th.
Okay. Well, 17th at 1, if that works for Mark.
Just one more question. When does early voting start for these city races?
Oh.
I think it's in October. Okay. All right. I'm just
We're going to
trying to think of
everything
everything.
at lunchtime, not 1 o'clock.
Okay, so 17th at noon, does that work for you?
11:30, yeah.
Mayor?
17th at noon?
Yeah.
11:30 or 11:45.
Sure.
Try to give them.
Well, SIB, I've got on here 10 o'clock.
On what day?
It usually goes on 17th. It usually goes to 11:30 or so. I mean, does she have?
I don't have it down.
I mean, I just have it as a running.
And we're just
time.
meeting there, correct?
I've got SIB being Tuesday, September 10th.
September 10th.
And by the way, I will be available by phone or text
Okay.
anytime you all pick.
And you're still gonna need to check with them to make sure that they're.
I'm gonna firm up these
Yes,
dates with you.
yes.
So are we saying noon on 9/17?
Yes.
That SIB board, just a side note, you may want to check, make sure y'all have 112 on that, 'cause I don't have it on my calendar.
Okay, it could have been moved too, and I just didn't change mine.
What is the name of the TRC officially? What's TRC, the meeting?
Tennessee
Yeah.
We call it 1019 Union School Road.
1019?
Refer to it as, yeah.
Okay. 1019. Mayor, do they have anything in the basement still? No, I didn't think so.
How much square feet is in the basement? I'm gonna make a motion to the rules.
Okay, motions, do we have a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Go, go ahead. Oh,
I'll go ahead and interrupt now.
sure.
How much square, do we know how much square footage is in the basement?
I don't. Mayor, do you? Square footage in the basement?
It's broken up, I don't know.
Yeah.
I can get it later tomorrow, I'll let you know.
Okay. Well, part of that is taken by the maintenance guys still, right?
Probably just, 10 the maintenance guys aren't there.
Oh, just the whole basement?
What is all of the space available?
Okay.
Nobody, if it's empty.
Yeah, okay.
I apologize for my notes. Did we just say meetings will be as needed?
Yes.
No, okay.
Yes. So we need square footage of the basement, office. Well, we're looking for floor plans or building plans for.
And I'll reach out to Josh.
Yeah.
See what he's got.
Okay,
I'll make a motion to bring it back.
okay. Bring it, all in favor? Discussion expectations for the committee. That's, to resolve the, I'm sorry.
I thought we just said that.
Yeah.
We've been talking about it the whole time,
Yeah,
so
yeah,
I think you're good.
Okay, so, okay, discussion of location, go ahead.
How long is this back and forth gonna go? I mean, this could be an eternity if we.
I anticipate maybe one round, either we agree or we just tell the judge we can't agree.
Okay.
Yeah,
Then what'll happen?
I have no idea. We'll have to go back in front of the judge and then, I don't like saying what I think will happen in front of the judge, so it'd be whatever his order comes out to be. And how much authority he actually has over certain aspects of it, because I think he understands as well there's a certain separation of powers here, so he can take it only so far. But I just don't know how much he's gonna try to force us into an
That's
agreement.
whatever we would have to be at that point.
That's a possibility, yes.
That's what it was.
well, I guess the first thing that needs to happen is we need to see how spread out they are, what they actually need. Then we can actually determine, you know, it was my thinking when they were here in the basement and in the office that we could have put them in the back of the archives building, which is 7,000 square feet, because that's close to the administration building. And if we went back to early voting at one location, if that was something that the commission wanted to do, then they would be compact. That's a great facility over there, and there's. Pardon?
I agree wholeheartedly.
The roll-up door could be turned into a storefront that people could enter and leave, and so in my opinion, that's a great location for them. But obviously they felt differently, which is why they moved into 1019. So
The only thing I would suggest is, remember, this is a domino effect. If you, whatever location you decide, what happens with what's in that location? And then, because it becomes just a pattern of moving,
right,
and it's a chain event.
right. Commissioner Mansfield.
Well, the chain of event got started when they just kind of moved over there anyway. So, I mean, that's kind of what started this, that process, I guess. And I know we need space, I guess a better space for our maintenance department, as well. So that's what, half that building was going to be configured for them to be able to use, but where the TRC is, which is kind of makes sense, is out there, out just, I'm not saying middle of nowhere, but it's not like a public, heavily traffic public location to come to that building. I've been doing a little research this whole process for, and watching, the elections. When I was up there, I guess about a year and a half ago, 2 years, I think it was twice. There's always only like one staff member at that facility. And if I'm not mistaken, I think there's probably close to 1 or 2 at max that's still there. I mean, it sounds like the estimation for machine storage and training is like less than 7,000 square feet. I do know that the elections office is now, I'll say, being split. They've got all their stuff, the TRC, and their operations is here, administration is here. So they've run 2 successful elections, or 3 now. But now, I made my notes back in early this summer. You had Millersville special election back in December. Then you had your March national election, Super Tuesday, and it was split between two offices, no problems at all. I have done, just my understanding, there are most large counties that are our size have 2 locations for their elections. Because what I've heard unequivocally from citizens, my constituents, is they do not like the idea of the elections and not being in this building as far as the operations of it, and they do not like fracturing that from the tax and whatever else they need to do for permitting or zoning. And I don't see why there's any reason to move their operations out of this building, whether they have their storage facility set up at the TRC, or they have the storage facility set up in the archives building. I don't see any reason to move that. And unequivocally from my constituents, they definitely want an election precedence here at Belvedere Drive. And it doesn't make any sense to spend that money to move the entire office for no reason, especially having a centralized location. So I don't see any problem. I would not be in favor, if this comes to a vote, I would not vote to move them completely over there. I think,
To where, the TRC or?
the entire operations there. Like, my constituents have told me, and citizens, like, they do not want the office portion to leave this building, and they've been able to prove successfully 3 elections they can do it without that. It makes the most sense to me logistically if they want to have their machines off-site, that back at that archives building. They actually used to do their training in that archives building as well. They set it up, and when we toured, and so that's just my recommendation. But again, whether it's TRC building for their 7,000 square feet they need, or it's, if we can find a spot for the archives. I know a lot of stuff in the archives building. Last time I was there, a year and a half ago, there was a lot of court stuff, filing cabinets, and just junk from different county departments, just junk. And so that kind of, my thought is, we're talking about rearranging stuff, we move the junk out of there, put it in the basement, move our maintenance guys out, put them in the TRC, let's finish the build out for them. We still have $400,000 of revenue replacement for ARPA that we can use for whatever, for capital construction needs. And so, I think we already get that in the budget anyway for doing that, but I know that we have capital, but, so, I mean, there's a lot of options. I think splitting the baby is probably the makes most sense to me from both ends. If there's a storage space issue and for them setting up and training, finding that space, whether it's TRC, but having, I think our maintenance department needs to be on it as well, makes sense. But definitely keeping the election office operations presence here in this building.
Well, if I may, real quick.
Sure.
This disparity in the numbers is really bothering me, so I've gone through this again, and under voting machine inspection requirements, that's where the 8180 comes in. So there's 8,180 square feet additional to the numbers I gave you.
What is it called?
It's called voting machine inspection requirements. 8,180 square feet.
Is this some state statute?
He references 29105, and I do not have that specific statute.
Voting machine inspection.
Say that again one more time.
Which part?
8,100 square feet for what? A voting machine?
Voting machine inspections.
Could that possibly be where they have to actually set the machine up and set the machines up and go through them? And I don't know the answer to that.
Yeah, this is an assumption on my part, but that sounds reasonable to me. But they did not.
It's a lot of space. It takes up a lot of space.
Yeah, and frankly, when I debated Annette on that, because we were down in the basement at one point, they insist that they have to have every machine set up fully with a 6-foot walkway through everything, and that's why they need the square
As
feet.
if they were operating an actual election.
Right, and I said,
But you don't
that,
have
that's
275
I
machines.
said, how many times a year do you do that? And she said, once. And I said, so we're going to have 8,000 square feet just sitting there so that you, rather than pull the machines out one at a time or 10 at a time or whatever to be inspected, so that you can, that didn't make sense to me. I mean,
I don't
And what was
understand
the
why storage.
the answer was yes, that's what we need to do. And I said, is there a mandate? Is there a, Tennessee code annotated? No, that's just what we have to do. And I mean, they hadn't been doing that until they moved to the TRC building. So that was why I was having a problem with it, because they've always inspected them 2 at a time, 5 at a time, whatever, in the basement. But when TRC moved out of there, the mayor and I were working on getting the maintenance guys over in the back area, and then we still would have had 11,000 square feet in front to use for something else. But I don't know. I think you take it one step at a time. We do a tour of the building. We look at the way they've got it set up. We scrutinize that. I understand what Jeremy is saying about keep people wanting it close to the administrative building. That's where I think it should be. I mean, voting's really important that it's at the administrative building. And if we are in 2 locations, a lot of that stuff, Mark, have you ever been in the archive building? So a lot of that stuff could probably be gotten rid of. It could be archived, it could be condensed, and probably put in the basement if we can get the maintenance guys over to the TRC building. So, it's a process, but I think the first thing we need to do is see what they've got set up, how they're doing it.
So we don't actually do voting here
No,
and haven't in years.
well, a few years, I remember.
Yeah, I think it's got a dozen years at least.
No, it's 2020.
I can't remember when
Yeah.
it was the last presidential election when we had fights out here and
Yeah, it was
people
20.
tore up grass. We can't do elections here.
2018, they had already voted.
Well, it's because the line was so long.
So long, yeah.
And so, my thinking was, if it's here and if it's in the archive building, if we had a storefront where that roll-up door was, there probably wouldn't be lines. There would be a lot of room for machines.
But I'm talking about the operations.
Yeah.
I'm talking about the operations and offices.
Yes.
Staying here for people coming in and registering. But I'm
And
talking about a separation of operations, whether they're in the archives, in the back of that because it's close, or whether they're in part of the TRC building, or having that space they're requesting, whatever. But I'm just keeping operations here.
Yes.
And what I've heard from my constituents is important, regardless of where their storage and testing spot is. Because that's very few people, very small part of the year.
And that's where I was kind of going with this, it was my understanding that we've been dealing with this situation ever since we came on the commission in September 22, was that the previous agreement was that there would be a presence in this building during the election season. So that kind of is what we're talking about, is having a presence here.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, and maybe correct me if I'm wrong, but that was sort of still the ongoing agreement until all of this came up.
Right.
So if they were still going to have a presence here, I think their argument has always been that there's not enough room in the basement to actually do the storage of the machine to maintain the warranties of the machine. That's been my understanding. So, now, somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but that's their argument.
I think that is their argument.
That's the bulk of it, yes.
I was going to say, mean, like, yeah,
No, I think you and I are on the same wavelength, as being the presence here.
because there's only one or two people that ever at that facility, this machine, and you're only using half, almost half of what they're asking for once a year. I mean, so.
And to me, if we just, this big, voting machine inspection and storage, why can't we just say 8180, period, for storage and inspection? Leave that 6,000 alone, because once they set these things up, you know, at one time, that'll be 2,000 extra square feet that they're gonna be using. And then also, the other thing, why can't the training and the counting space just be the same thing too? Because you're only gonna be training, and then once the election's over, that's when you're gonna be counting. So it's gonna be used different times, so why can't they be the same?
Yeah, they're not being synergistic.
No,
You know, this is the training area, this is the, and that's my problem with it. They're just being very wasteful with county square footage, Mr. Mansfield.
It's more of a kind of a question for the law director. Is there any action for us to take today? Because we're not going to meet before you go back to court. But I've already expressed my thoughts and what how I'm going to vote. You know, I would not vote for support of moving their operations out of here at all, which indicates the need for them to have 18,000 square feet of space. You know, so do we need to take action now to give you something to go to, since if this committee is not willing to relocate, but where there's like, let's find adequate space where it's at the TRC building, or if we can do the Art Gallery building, which is close to here, which to me makes the most sense. That's just me. Do you need any kind of motion from us as a recommendation, or is it, you know, to send?
Everything we've talked about is exactly what I need to take to the status conference. I will be telling them that we went over the square footage asks of the election commission, that we're tentatively scheduling a tour of that, which should have happened before then, if that date works out for everybody. We're researching floor plans and square footage for alternate locations, and seeing if some of the space asks we can merge into some sort of overlap plan, such as the training room and the, what was it, the counting board room? And stuff of that nature. So I've got enough to let the judge know this is moving.
Well, I mean, my point is, their request in that order, and what you just read to us, is to move the entire operation. And
No, this isn't the order. This was just the ECC request.
whatever their request was, that we negotiated. The order was that we negotiated. Correct. So they're saying one thing. I'm just telling you something else.
I understand that, but it's
Which is
not
not
over.
an agreement.
It's not over till they either say yes or no.
Okay, so but do we need to take a vote here to see if that's a recommendation? I mean, I just don't, I'm just procedurally trying to figure out what
you need from us.
Ideally, I couldn't have a final answer to give to the courts until this had gotten from Ad-Hoc to committee to back to commission to either say thumbs up or thumbs down.
Okay, so
And then I would.
you don't need anything from us right now. You just
No.
say, here's what they
I
discussed.
don't think you've got authority to do anything really.
I know we don't, but I'm just saying, we do it as an ad hoc, as an advisory, taking a motion as a recommendation to, go back to legislative, and go back to the full commission. But I just didn't know for this 19th, did you need us to take
No.
any kind of
No, I do
ad
not.
hoc action?
I do not, and I wouldn't feel comfortable with anything being voted on when you have quite a few valid questions to entertain before coming to something to kick up. So that's my recommendation.
Commissioner Harris.
Yeah, that was kind of the first thing I was going to say, was it would, in my estimation, it would be premature to take a vote or make a recommendation until we've actually toured the facility.
Yeah, I agree.
That would look a little odd. Secondly, talking about the additional space, it may look like there's too much space today, but now taking into consideration that this county, whether we agree or disagree, is still growing, and there will be a need for additional precincts, which will incur the additional need for more machines at some point, which is going to create more space requirements on the election commission's part. So we can't just plan on whatever the recommendation from this committee or from the, I guess it would be legislative or whoever. It can't just be based on today.
Yeah, we need to move in good faith and
Yeah.
forward thinking. You're absolutely right.
And to your point, room to grow basically is what we're talking about.
Commissioner Mansfield.
My point was taking action on office spaces staying here, not paying to relocate them versus only storage, whatever that looks like, not the amount, but that's what I was talking about.
I still don't.
But that's not in there, that's counter to what they offer. That's not my point.
I understand that. If you're gonna tell me that ask is gonna dictate any further research by the commission, then I would have to tell the judge, pending their answer, that we don't have an agreement and then we need to just move forward. I still think it's a little premature. At least have it all together, all the information. And if it falls back on being the one item that you're discussing, then yes, we can say, we reviewed everything and this is our problem.
In any negotiation, there could be a potential deal breaker.
Yes.
And that's where we are right now.
Yes.
We don't even have enough information really to.
Yeah, we can't start. So, and I think in reality, they're not gonna do anything until this election is over, so, you know, we
And I don't think the judge would allow us to require them to do anything.
Right.
That's the one thing the judge will do is, even if we say we can't agree, he's gonna wanna know there was a good faith attempt. And if I got enough to hang that on, say we made reasonable requests and offers and counter offers, we just can't agree. Or we do agree, and here's what it is. So, that's my recommendation.
I think we're where we need to be for this meeting. I think we've got a plan, you've got some information to get to us, and you've got to talk to them, so I think we're in good shape for the moment.
Yeah, and your ability to tour it, I will let you know tomorrow if there's a hitch there, but I think me opening the door up with their attorney, I will bring that up. Look, we're not trying to violate the TRO, and if he allows it, then that's on them. We don't have to worry about a hit on that, but I think we're okay.
Okay.
I'll let you know